So this video is titled Raising Adults, to draw a contrast from the traditional way that that's referred to as raising children. Understand when you have children and you bring them into the world, your responsibility is not to raise children, but to raise adults, people who can contribute to society, people who can not only contribute to society, but do so in a way that helps mankind and helps their neighbor. We, at our house, opted to homeschool our children, not because we were trying to shelter them from the world or not because of any type of religious reason whatsoever, but simply because my wife and I had horrible experiences in the public school system in the late 80s and 90s. My wife grew up poor in Northern California with odd parents, and she was teased so bad that she decided to work her way through private Christian school so that she wouldn't have to be ridiculed at high school. I grew up in a trailer park in Las Vegas, Nevada, and also had odd parents and was also not in any type of an in crowd. And simply, I don't look back on my high school years positively at all, other than my education. I will put that asterisk there. At some point in my life, I was identified as gifted, and I was put in the AP, the higher honors classes in high school, which I'd never understood until I watched Ben Stein's movie when I was 30 something, that that I was never in class with the children that I played with in the afternoon. I never was. I was in class with a bunch of upper middle class intellectuals, and I got a great education in the government school system. Unfortunately, my parents didn't realize it. Nobody knew to guide me into doing anything special until I took a test for the United States military, and they realized that I had a brain, and they put that to good use, which built me a good career. But my wife and I decided that we simply were not going to chance it. We were not going to put our children into the government school system, not because of religion, not because of immorality, not because of any other thing, other than the fact that the kids are mean. And it is simply not a positive experience unless you are an upper middle class family who lives in the right neighborhood and goes to the right school, and the kids have a pretty good time of it. But if you're not that, it's a slog and it can be a drag, and you can just feel awful about having to get on that school bus and get picked on day after day after day. It's just not a positive experience in our opinion. So we started by putting our children into private Christian school. And this is something that a lot of people out there recoil against because they're biases. But these people were absolutely wonderful and were absolutely a complete denomination than us with completely different beliefs. And they accepted us even with our doctrinal differences that we had to line out on their doctrinal statements. And we don't believe this. We were upfront and told them that we were different. They accepted us just the same. And our children stayed in private Christian school for at least 2 years per kid. And we had to withdraw them when gasoline got up to $4 a gallon. And this school that knew that we were a completely different type of Christian tried to let us stay, offered to let us stay for dramatically reduced tuition because they loved us. And we still had to go because gasoline got up to $4 a gallon and the school is 20 miles away. We simply could not afford to do it any longer. And it took quite a while to pay off our debts from that. But we used that private school to give our kids order and to let somebody else teach them how to read and how to write. From that foundation, we started homeschooling, which is a very positive and easy thing to do. It doesn't cost that much whatsoever, and your kids don't have to worry about the latest trends at school and the latest shoes to wear or how the girls are going to wear their hair because they're going to school in their pajamas. Our children wanted to go to school to be around other people. We live in the country, and their social life was the stereotypical homeschool social life. There wasn't much because of where we live, but they did have friends in the neighborhood, and they did have great adventures flying around the country to visit family and to go to religious retreats and vacations. And they did have a great childhood. They just had a different type of childhood than most. And from the homeschooling, you can, a lot of it's on the computer. You buy curriculums, $400 or $500 for an entire year. I don't know why it costs $10,000 or $15,000 a student in the government school system. And the children got along just fine until we learned that they can go to community college before they turned 18. And that's a wonderful blessing, because that was my goal, was to get them a general education associate's degree from community college so they could then decide where they wanted to go on in life. So they could pick their own paths, so to speak. Now, my son is not interested in a liberal arts education. He is interested in building and fixing and blue collar and trades. And at 22 years old, he's had remarkable adventures being flown around Alaska in a helicopter, helping people drill exploratory holes in the ground. He's blue collar all the way, and he's got a great trade. He's got a great income. He's got a wife. He's got a kid, and he never set foot in the government schools. My daughters are very intellectual, and they both got associate's degrees earlier than they should. Actually, one is about to get hers, and the older one is transferred to university, and all the credits transferred right with her. If you join community college while you're in high school, there's no prerequisite whatsoever. It's called dual enrollment. The tuition is half, and the credits mirror right along with your high school credits, so that you graduate high school with an associate's degree. And at 18 years old, you can go do whatever you want to do. In fact, my daughters are being recruited by universities all over the country because they were both honors students, and they were in the Honor Society and a couple of clubs that made them attractive candidates to go to a bunch of colleges. Now, I'm not bragging. A little bit I'm bragging. I'm quite proud of my daughters. I'm quite proud of their intellect and their drive. But what I'm telling you is that this is not that hard to do. And even if you're in the government school system, you can do this dual enrollment and empower your children to start life at a young age. Also, because we homeschooled, our children were able to enter the workforce much earlier than most. And they learned about taxes. They learned about office drama. They learned about being an employee versus being an employer. And they learned the positives and negatives of these different career paths. I made sure to teach them about being their own employee, their own owning a business and burdens of that, being an employee, having employees, how to get paid by commission, how to get paid by hourly, how to get paid by salary, how to pay taxes, how to invest money. These are things that you should be talking to your children about when they're about 13, 14 years old. You should set them up with bank accounts and debit cards and let them have an income. And my children were pretty good at this. And I think that the society today, raising children in this government system, and they turn 18 and you expect them to be adults, and they're not adults because they don't know any of the basics of life, is simply not working out. And now here it is 2024, and I'm coming out with this video because, frankly, I didn't want to share all of these insights too much before we were successful, because we used to live in California and they were doing everything they could to keep people in the system. They didn't want you to be out of the system. If you go to private school, it's got to be accredited. If you try to homeschool, they want you to be accredited. You don't need any of that. If you are a productive member of this society and you pay taxes and you have a job and you know how to read and you know how to write and you know how to do math, then you can teach those skills to your children. Some things I would tell you to do is put them in extracurricular activities like sports or piano, so they learn how to set long-term goals and achieve them. Because this is what adult life is about. Adult life is about achieving the right education to achieve a career path, which has steps along the way that take years to fulfill. Children need to understand that, whether they're getting credits in the government school system or they're building a knowledge base outside of that system, they need to learn a work ethic, and they need to learn the value of professional and expert opinion. A boy should have a boxing coach, a sensei, or a girl. Both two of my children have black belts in martial arts. One boy, one girl. A daughter was a USAG gymnast, and she had to respect her elders. She had to learn how to point her toes properly, how to pivot properly, how to launch off the boards properly, and they have to learn to respect people who have come before you, because when you enter the workforce, you don't get that corner office on your first day. You may never get that corner office. You have to learn how to respect the people that came before you. Of course, this also gave us the latitude to worship as we saw fit and keep the holy days that we saw fit, which is why I feel empowered to post this at firstcenturychristianity.net, because a lot of people who believe like us homeschool simply because the holidays that we follow, the biblical holidays, do not line up with the public school system at all. They keep a different set of holidays. So homeschooling is a very good option. Would also encourage you to set yourselves up to be single income families. That alone right there, regardless of how you educate your children, having a parent at home, preferably the mother, to run the household and run those kids and keep them ordered and organized is much better for their psyche, for their stability, and for their future. It sets the baseline for a proper household. Having the man or the woman, if she has the education to be the breadwinner, then he or she need to go and be dedicated to that career, because that income is not just taking care of the children and paying for the lights and paying for their clothing. It's also the financial security for the husband and the wife in their retirement years. So you need to be able to focus on the task at hand. Of course, once the children got old enough to be on autopilot, my wife got a job simply because she wanted to be around other adults and network, and she was tired of being around children 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I simply do not blame her. Also, don't forget to give the spouse that is doing all the homework, meaning raising the children and taking care of the household, don't forget to give them a vacation from time to time. A few times my wife was frazzled, and I used hotel points to send her off with a bottle of wine to go take a bath without kids bothering her for 24 or 48 hours so that she could reset. Be very compassionate when you raise children, when you have a household. Think about your spouse as often as you think about yourself, if not more. Try to do things that are nice. If you're a husband who's a business traveler and you come home and the house is a complete disaster, understand that your wife did not want the house to be a big disaster, but something awful probably happened during the week with sick children or emergencies or having to take care of other loved ones that made it to where the house had to be neglected. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble on now. I just want to encourage people to go to the link in the comments and read the very simple notes that I have to give hints on people to get out of the government school system. The government school system is falling apart. It's entirely possible that the incoming administration will physically dismantle it, and you will need some breadcrumbs. You'll need some ideas as to how to get your children the education and the experience they need to become adults, productive members of society, and contribute to the betterment of mankind. Thank you for watching. May Yahweh bless you and keep you in the name of his son, Yeshua.